That brings us to item number 11, which is our superintendent's report, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Melton. Dr. Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Gant. First of all, I'd like to say to our community members that may not have received our communication, we found out this afternoon around 2:30 that the governor has issued an executive order that our school district and 25 others will be closed effective immediately starting tomorrow. So we are closed until we find out otherwise from the governor. I would like to commend Ms. Goggins and our communication staff for their quick response to getting a message out to our community. I'd like to say thanks to our transportation staff under Mr. Richardson's leadership, our safety and security staff under Dr. Harris's leadership. Mr. Giuliano had to look at all the field trips that had been scheduled over the next few days, so the instructional staff has been working on that with frenzy. Dr. Jakes and her staff have already started fielding questions about makeup time because we have a staff that's that conscientious. So one simple message like that creates a system effect, and I would like to pause and say thank you to all of our cabinet because they are the ones that are leading this effort. And so for me, to them, I would like to say thank you publicly for each of their responses and their leadership throughout this. So if you would join me in a round of applause, I would certainly appreciate that. I believe that there are moments that define an organization, and there are moments that reveal the heart and the character of an organization. On August the 31st, here at Dutch Fork High School, we experienced a situation that School District 5 has not experienced before. We saw heart, we saw character, and we saw leadership emerge. Our everyday superheroes showed their true colors. Tonight in executive session, our board was involved with a conversation that was reflective, was inquisitive. They've asked questions of us. Dr. Harris and I have taken copious notes. We've received their commendations to give us feedback on the things that they saw and have heard from our community that have gone well. We have certainly issued lots of communication through social media, phone messages, and other kinds of media outlets to make sure that our message is heard. And based on all accounts, and last Friday's first experience at Chapin High School, because that was the one school that had a home game, it seems that our efforts are working to this point. But I would like to also pause to say to each of those that are here tonight, there's so many that aren't here, but how appropriate that we are here at Dutch Fork High School. Dutch Fork Middle School is our neighbor. Anyone here this evening that was a part of that quick response, if you would stand so that we could recognize you as one of our heroes that we take for granted too often. Dr. Gary, thank you, and your staff. Thank you. Those are a few faces, but there are many others that we'll be celebrating upon a request of board members to make sure that we highlight our everyday heroes that we could too easily take for granted.
Are you finished?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say on behalf of the board, Dr. Melton has just reflected on the events of August 31st, but on behalf of the board, we just spent the bulk of our executive session with a question and answer with Dr. Melton, Dr. Harris, giving input, thoughts both ways, and fully vetted to our best ability and their best ability to this point. And we as a board really appreciate, and I appreciate the questions of the board that they brought tonight on behalf of the community. But I think we're in a situation that's evolving. It'll be changing somewhat, but our student safety is our #1 priority, and that's what's going to go on. And safety of any of our guests at any of our events is a #1. So I just wanted to thank Dr. Melton, Dr. Harris, our board for the great questions tonight. And as it evolves, we'll have more great questions, and I know you all have great solutions, so thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'd like to do some introductions this evening. We have committed to you all that we would bring new administrators to make sure you have a chance to put a face with the name. So here joining with us tonight is our new principal of Chapin High School, Mr. Michael Ames. Mr. Ames, if you would stand. Let's hold the applause until all names are announced. Mr. Ames, if you'll stay standing, I know that's going to be the most awkward of all, but we're going to have others join you momentarily. Ms. Bree Amick at Spring Hill High School, our newest assistant principal. Ms. Erica Cartledge, our district office math specialist. We welcome Ms. Cartledge to the district office. Mr. Jay Clark from Irmo High School's associate principal was here earlier, but I don't know that he could stay this evening because of events at Irmo High School. I see Dr. Hardy shaking her head that he was here but had to leave. Ms. Jenny Haynes is not new to Dutch Fork High School, but now she's joined the administrative ranks as a Dutch Fork High School administrative assistant principal. Ms. Kristen Hill is not new either to School District 5. She is now the Irmo Elementary School assistant principal. Ms. Morgan Johnson has left the classroom and has joined the ranks of administration at Chapin Elementary. We welcome Ms. Bonnie Moscos into Lexington 5, who resides in Lexington 5, but now she's working here as well. So welcome home, Ms. Moscos. Mr. Ryan Pearson from a neighbor is now joining us here in School District 5 from a neighboring district as the Chapin Intermediate School Assistant Principal. And then last but not least, Ms. Julie White, our newest Assistant Principal at Lake Murray Elementary. Please join me in congratulating these new administrators who are contributing to our success in School District 5. Ms. Goggins, I'm not sure we can create a photograph of that, but if we could maybe situate them on the side when we proceed, that would be great to have that captured as a memory for this group of leaders that we are so fortunate to have among our leadership in School District 5.
Really quick. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Congratulations to everyone. Our first official report this evening, Mr. Richardson is going to be introducing this report regarding our capital report update.
Thank you, Dr. Melton. Members of the board, I would like to bring Scott Carlin forward to give you a capital budget update and tell you about all the wonderful things we did over the summer.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chair, Dr. Melton, board members, thank you for the opportunity for us to tell you what we accomplished over the summer. I'm going to start by talking about our capital budget, which you approved back in February, but I'm even, I think, a little bit more excited to talk to you after that about some of the things that we accomplished through some tours that we accomplished in our schools in the spring and meetings with our principals and staffs to come up with some school-identified needs that were important items that we needed to accomplish as well. So without further ado, let's see if this thing's going to work. Okay. I'm going to begin by talking to the budget that you're familiar with, that you approved back in February, and just touch on those projects briefly. First of all, this was an extremely short summer for construction. And we really had some contractors that made some things happen for us and got us in on time that was really impressive. And no project exceeded the quality and the effort that we saw as what happened at Lake Murray Elementary School, completing the final phase of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning replacement for that school. W.O. Blackstone, which is a contract that we've worked with many times, really jumped some big hurdles to make that happen for us, and we were able to get that project accomplished, of course, on time and got our students back and staff. I'm going to be showing you some pictures of the things that we got accomplished as we move along, but let me move down the list and speak to each of these projects. Chapin Intermediate School, we are completing the second phase of roof replacement at the school. That is a project that is still ongoing. We expect it to be finished either at the end of September, perhaps even the beginning of October. We're using a new system when we do roofing replacements, typically during our summers, because the summers are so short, and it takes a lot to get those type projects accomplished. We used to do what's called hot asphalt. A hot asphalt method, which is great when nobody's in the buildings, but it makes it very difficult when people come back. We're using a cold applied method now that allows us to work into the year, and you don't have a lot of the smells and the problems that you have with hot asphalt. So again, that project should be completed somewhere the end of September, beginning of October. We held a few of our projects back from even trying to accomplish this summer, because one of the things that we have recognized over the last few years is that our delivery method for getting these type projects accomplished is not the most efficient nor the most effective way to do some of these projects. You're familiar with the new delivery method we used at Chapin Middle School for the final wing in that construction effort. And we went from the traditional design bid build method, which historically is the way all work was accomplished for the most part. And we used at Chapin Middle School what's called construction management at risk. The benefit of that type delivery method amongst many, many benefits. But the biggest is that you bring your contractor and your designer together early so you can work together as a team in getting the project accomplished. And it just takes away a lot of the problems that you typically get into with the field when the contractor and the designer are meeting for the first time. We have moved now to a similar delivery method, although it is different, and it's called design build. And we took the spring to develop that program, and we awarded a contract to, the successful contractor is Thompson Turner, who we are working with now to accomplish the balance of the projects that you see in the capital budget. And those projects include the roof at Dutch Fork High School, the 2 projects at Irmo High School, which include some Title IX accommodation, like the softball press box and concession stand, as well as providing an adequate training facility for the athletics program. The contractor is on board, and he is working with his designer and our staff, and the staffs at Irmo High School and Dutch Fork High, to prepare those projects so that we are fully designed, approved, and ready to go for the following summer. And we really are already seeing the benefit of having a team together, both the designer and the contractor and our folks, to make sure those projects are designed well, they're seamless going into construction, and we avoid some of the problems that we've experienced in the past. And also, we think it's going to save us some dollars as a part of doing it that way. So specifically, let me talk for a moment about Irmo High School. We accomplished, and I'm going to show you some pictures of this as we move through the slides, we accomplished one item for the softball program at Irmo High School, which was to construct a batting cage for the ladies' softball program. Again, the other project that you'll see happening after school lets out this year is to accomplish the upgrades to the softball field, press box concession stand, and all the things necessary to support that softball program. We are going to be bringing to you in January as a part of the next budget some changes that involve the training room at Irmo High School. With Dr. Hardy coming on at Irmo High School, she has discovered some things and made some things known that make it more beneficial that we look at a different location for the training program at Irmo High School. Y'all may not remember this, but way back in 2002, when additions were made on the back part of the activities building at Irmo High School, what was included in that project was an art room, an art lab. And it's right smack dab in the middle of the athletics area. So what she has suggested, and we agree, let's move the art program up into the main building with the other academic areas and use that space for the training room. So again, our design build contractor is looking at that. It's a little bit of a change in scope, so we're going to be coming back to you in January to talk about the next budget and this budget and how we can harmonize both of those to get that program the way it needs to be for the long term and accomplish what we've already told you what we're going to do is provide the space for that training program. Any other questions on the actual capital budget before I move into the slides?
Mr. Gates,
Yes, sir. Mr. Cates.
will there be any additional work done prior to this season for Irmo softball, or will all the remaining work be delayed until the summer start?
We are investigating the possibility of what we could get done between now and the beginning of the softball program. We're not confident yet that we can attempt that and get it done for the season to start. So I'm not willing to say, yes, we're going to do anything at this point. We are looking at it. But the major construction, like the press box and the concession stand, that's definitely going to have to be a summer project.
Question?
Okay. Well, let's move into the fun part of the program, and that's the pictures. We'll start off with the project that I mentioned to begin with at Lake Murray Elementary School, and that's the final phase of our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning replacement. You can see on the far left where we performed demolition in the cafeteria area, and of course, moving down the pictures to the final completion. The reason I wanted to show you this one in particular is you can see the new LED lighting in that final slide. And one of the things that we're trying to accomplish where it makes sense is that every time we do one of these HVAC projects, we're also incorporating replacing ceilings, lighting, and everything to get that good, new, efficient lighting, as well as replace all the infrastructure all the way through the equipment that's typically going to be on the roofs. And I'm going to move through, but if you have any questions, please stop me and ask. This is another shot from Lake Murray Elementary. This is actually the media center, and to accomplish, because of the ceiling heights, when we do these kind of projects, they have to go in and put in what I call a dance floor to make everything level and where they can reach the equipment conveniently. And then you see, once we remove the dance floor, we're back to the mini theater look on the far right. This is the project that's currently going on and nearing completion at Chapin Intermediate for the roof replacement. And this gives you a pretty good view of where we started even before Phase 1 on the left and where we are with both Phase 1 and nearing completion on Phase 2 on the right. We won't be replacing the entire roof at the school because there are some additions that were made in the 90s and also the early 2000s, and it's just not time to replace those roofs. But everything that you see in white and that's on the right hand there will be finished shortly. This is kind of an exciting project for me because we accomplished the majority of this work in-house with our own staff. And it was a partnership with our grant program writers and the school at Nursery Road Elementary. But this was part of the kindergarten area and is now being turned into, and is what you see finally there, as a new dance studio for them. It included a new soundproof wall that you see, the mudding and taping up on the picture on the far left that we accomplished. We also put some sound bat insulation above the ceiling. And we replaced flooring, painted the walls, painted the ceiling black, which creates that neat dance studio look. We put in we didn't accomplish this, this was actually done by a contractor, but a brand new Marley dance floor, which is in the back part of the room, and then a vinyl tile floor we accomplished with our folks to complete that project.
Mr. Gant, can I ask one
Yes,
question on that?
Ma'am?
Yeah, did you say that was the area that was kindergarten?
Yes, ma'am. It was
Did-
part of the
Part
kindergarten
of it,
area.
so you
Yes.
still have, yeah.
And so that was moved, those functions were moved into some inner spaces in the building.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, and because they still have the kindergarten area
Correct.
where the kids can go outside right there, the way Nursery Road was when mine was there.
Yes, ma'am.
It didn't take away that kind of space from
No.
kindergarten. Okay.
Directly adjacent to that room is what has become the new music room or music studio. Again, we replaced pretty much everything in the room, painted the walls, new carpet, and provided some other infrastructure support for some of that new music equipment. Okay. I told you that we completed some tours of the schools with our staff in the spring, and we literally put our eyes on just about every square foot within this district, and also performed these tours in many cases with the principal or an assistant principal and the facility supervisor from the school. And all the projects that you see right here, for the most part, came out of those tours or in conversation with the schools about some of their needs that they identified to us. They include everything from replacing grease interceptors, which is nothing that anybody gets excited about except Todd Biedenbow and me, because it means he can still operate his kitchen and not get in trouble with Richland County. We performed some code compliance issues. That E-Stops project has to do with being able to safely shut down gas-fired water heaters in some of our mechanical rooms to make sure everything's safe for our staff who's going to be working on those. We accomplished some flooring projects, some painting projects. For whatever reason, there was a large need. All these schools kind of hit at the same time, needing new sound systems. So you can see where we replaced a lot of those at 5 of our schools. Some painting that went on this summer. We already talked about the grant projects. Another project that was kind of neat for Seven Oaks Elementary, they were having some difficulty with supervision with one of their playgrounds. And so we're in the process of moving that playground up so it's closer to the school, makes more sense for safety and security and also supervision. And I'll be showing you a picture on that in a minute. We replaced the bleachers up at Chapin High School. That's part of some of the Title IX issues that we're addressing. Next project there you see install field lighting. That was a deficiency that was identified to us, and traditionally it's very expensive to provide lighting on athletic fields, but we think we've come up with a solution, not for our game fields, but for our practice fields, that is a lot more economical, but it'll still accomplish what they need on being able to practice when things get dark. Some scoreboards for our athletic programs that are two of our high schools. And then one of the big things that we're doing across the district right now are energy management and our control systems that operate our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. You know, as our technology has changed, software requirements change, we're also having to upgrade our control systems. And of course, the more efficient those systems are, the more energy we have the opportunity to save with our heating and air conditioning. And if you have any questions about that, I'll be glad to answer those. Otherwise, I'll go into pictures.
I got one.
Ma'am.
Where it's replaced gymnasium entrance for Irmo High?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that like right, is that the entrance coming in that back way to the gym? Or is it coming, you know, where the circle is and you're going?
It's actually, you know the lobby areas on either side of the main gymnasium? We totally replaced those entrances on either side. I don't know if you remember, but we had these old, antiquated, really, really high and wide doors, and couldn't find replacement parts. We were having difficulties maintaining them, so we just replaced the entire entrances on both sides. We're also in the process of replacing the entrances off the top, where we were having similar problems.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. This is at Ballantyne Elementary School. We completely replaced the flooring in the mini theater there. And on the right hand of the screen, you'll see where we've replaced some flooring in some of our rooms at Leapart Elementary School. One of the things that we've been trying to move towards, and we're moving there slowly, is to try to get a lot of the carpet out of our classrooms. We're still going to need it in places like media centers and conference rooms and office areas, but what we've been finding is the more we can get carpet out of the classrooms, it just takes the issues out of
Allergies.
indoor air quality issues, yes. So anyway, that was something we were able to accomplish at Leapart. Some of our painting projects from the summer, we'll facelift at Irmo Middle. We did some office areas at Lake Murray, River Springs, the stadium at Chapin High School, and some other areas, including Chapin Intermediate, or Crossroads Intermediate. This is, there are a few pictures of the grease interceptor we placed at Dutch Fork Elementary School. And again, this is only exciting to Todd Biedenbow and myself, but this was an old one, to say the least. You may or may not be aware of this, but we have the worst soil conditions for paving in the state, literally. So we're always dealing with pavement maintenance issues, and these are some of the ones we accomplished this summer. I will tell you that whenever we accomplish major pavement replacements, we're doing the right and necessary things to put in good quality subbase and then paving over it so it's going to last for a good long time. Unfortunately, those good systems weren't all used when some of these schools were constructed, so we're having to deal with some of the fallout from that, so to speak. This is Chapin Intermediate School. Some repairs we did at Irmo Middle School, the two pictures on the left, and then Dutch Fork High School and River Springs on the right, and also Dutch Fork Middle School. This is the playground relocation I mentioned to you that we're currently doing at Seven Oaks. We are hoping to have this completed by the end of September, believe me, Gina Mays has let me know not once but many times that the kids are very excited to utilize this piece of equipment. So we're working hard to try to get that finished. Dutch Fork Middle School did something a little different in their, with their front office administration and the attendance area. It made sense to have that included with the reception area. So on the left-hand side shows you some of the casework for the receptionist, and we mirrored that on the right-hand side for the attendant there. Landscaping, Irma Middle School, there's a courtyard right off the cafeteria, and that had gotten really overgrown, and Ms. Pascal had some concerns about students, and there were some areas that weren't well visible. The lighting had been overgrown and consumed, and so we went in there and cleaned a lot of that out, and she's pleased with where we are now. Chapin High School, I mentioned the lighting on the athletic fields, and that's the field that the band primarily uses. It's in the back part of the Chapin High campus, and you can see those new light poles there. We finished that, I think it was a week or two ago.
Mr. Carlin, you mentioned this lighting a little while ago. Said you thought you'd found a solution that we hadn't previously had. What opened up there? And I know we had some concerns brought to the board last year about that lighting.
Yeah, the lighting we've typically used on our game fields, and what you see on this campus at Dutch Fork High as well as Irma High, is really a competition level lighting system. You really need what we have there. But it's expensive and it takes a long time to put that type system in. This is a system that we actually put in with some contractor help and also our own in-house staff. So it's a fraction of the cost of what it takes to do on a competition field, but we think this is going to accomplish what they need as far as practice.
That's great. That's great.
Particularly in the fall.
So many times I think we think of the lighting having to be equivalent to the playing field, but obviously you can practice, must have some good lights in there too, but that's great.
Yes, sir. And this was kind of a test for us, so if this accomplishes what we think it has, then we'll move on and look at other opportunities for it. I mentioned to you that we performed a couple of athletic upgrades where we really needed to have them. And again, this is in keeping with our Title IX improvements. On the left-hand side, you'll see where we replaced the bleachers at the softball field at Chapin High. And then, of course, on the right-hand side, you see the new softball batting cage at Irma. Again, for whatever reason, it just became time on a lot of this infrastructure, and we were able to replace the scoreboards for the softball and baseball programs at Dutch Fork High and Irma High. Of course, the reason we didn't need to at Chapin is those are newer systems. Surplus property. If Ms. Robinson is here, and I don't know that she is, she could go on for hours discussing the difficulty involved with fixed assets and surplus property. And so we worked with some of our schools this summer, and I think we've got a good solution for handling some of this so we can get it out of the schools where it's no longer needed. In some cases, we find where one school may not have a use for it anymore, we can move it to another one, but in a lot of cases, it's just time for it to go. And you can't just throw the stuff away. There's a method you have to go through to dispose of it. And so this is some of the work we did with the schools to accomplish that. And finally, I'd like to finish up tonight with a project that was a huge need at Harbison West. If you've ever been around Harbison West or the roads, Crossbow, which runs right in front of the school, Crossbow Drive, or Columbiana Drive, which of course leads down to the mall, in the morning or in the afternoon, you can't believe the traffic jam that occurred because we could not get enough cars off the road onto the campus to drop off and pick up students in the car rider line. So if you look in the top left portion of the screen, that little loop, let's see if this pointer will work. Yes. So in that, well, the board members can't see it though. Well, the crowd can. Okay, the little loop that's close to the road is the only place that the car riders had to turn around. And if you look at in the right picture, you'll see that we've created a car rider loop that stretches all the way to the back of the campus and really has done a tremendous job in getting the cars off the main roads and creating that safety problem, as well as all the headache for the community that we created. So now I'm going to try something, and Rachel will see if this is going to work. We used a time-lapse camera. Can you blow it up? Yeah, go down, blow it up. This is a time-lapsed photography that we used with a drone to show you how this works. And what you'll see is that the cars will get very close to stacking up to the entrance, but they never quite get there. And so we keep all the cars off the road.
Like a video game. You like it?
Change.
And believe me, Mr. Davis, I talked to him this afternoon. He's excited about this project.
I bet.
But the neighborhood and the traffic folks are really excited about it, too.
They are very excited.
Yes. I used to, not this year, but I picked up several kids for our after-school program for our church last year. And and now, since you've done this, I don't have to go anymore. But last year, I ran into cars all the time. But this is great. I mean, it was sorely needed.
Yeah, it
Because,
really
I mean,
was.
when you have cars going in the same direction, you go in the same way somebody's coming out.
Well,
is the way it was.
if you had ever gotten in that line, what would happen was some of our community members, they're late, they're frustrated or whatever, and they would move into the approaching lane of traffic to go around, not only on Columbiana, but up Crossbow. So,
Well, I've done that before, too. Be honest with you, yes.
this is not attribution, sir.
I'm in the middle of the street, too.
He's done it in a bus.
God.
In the bus, yeah, in the bus.
They got you on video, too.
Well, that concludes the presentation, but I'd be glad to answer any other questions you might have for the capital budget or any of their projects we've been involved with.
Ms. Hammond and then Mr. White.
I don't think I missed it, but, well, two things, this different subjects. But the scoreboards, those were all for baseball or softball, right?
Both programs at Dutch Fork High and Irmo High School.
All right. And then, I don't think I saw any, and I'm sure there's some that need it because I've toured some of them. I think some of our older schools, I would like to see where we've refurbished some of the bathrooms. And I know that's not on
Restrooms.
here, but
Okay.
that's just one of my things for students.
Yes, ma'am.
And I mean, recently I've been in some at different schools of our older schools, and you know, they just need refurbishing, you know, like the floors where it has
Okay.
some, say if it's some type of tile, it's up. And I just think kids, I mean, I teach 8th grade, and it doesn't matter what grade, but especially kids, they need a you know, it can't be new, but it can be, you know, if there's a place in the floor that's a hole, it needs to be fixed, and it needs to be painted. And the murals on the wall, sometimes, I mean, the guys are rough with all that. So I just want to be sure we, you know, as we fix some of these projects that everybody kind of looks at, I don't want us to forget the cleanliness and just refurbishing all of our older bathrooms.
Yes, ma'am. Couldn't agree more. You know, and I've told you all this many times in the past. The support that you provide to us, and of course our taxpayers, with not only building the new things, which
Yes.
everybody can get excited
That's
about,
right. That's right.
but putting the dollars into our existing infrastructure
Thank you.
is amazing, and it's essential. And you know, this is a $10 million budget. Normally about 5.5, 6 million of it goes towards facilities, but literally, if you gave me 3 times that, it would not go to waste. So, and we've got needs all over the place, but restrooms is certainly one of them, and we're looking at all this right now to see what we can accomplish.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. White.
I was just curious about, you said it was a process to get rid of surplus property. I mean, what's involved there? I mean, is that complicated when you decide stuff's no longer usable?
Board policy on getting rid of surplus is challenging. Like I said, it's very difficult to throw anything away. You have to try to sell just about everything. and there's steps that we have to go through to accomplish all of this. So Ms. Robinson and we have put some steps in place to try to, if we've got a glut at a certain school and we don't have the time to do sales, say at the school, we're relocating some of that surplus property up to the old warehouse where Palmetto Woods used to be at Chapin High School, or adjacent to Chapin High School. But it's a big muscle move to get rid of surplus property, and it makes it difficult.
So is that a problem? I mean, do we have and Lynn, you're getting ready to say something, but is our policy a problem?
No, it's the procurement policy. I mean, it's what the state follows. But what we do, just so you know, most of the surplus that we have that's still usable, if there's not another school in the district that wants to use it, what we typically do is we advertise it on Gov Deals, which is like an eBay for government. So we sell it through auction. We probably sold a couple of $100,000 worth of old assets last year. You saw all the slide up here with all the pods. What we did was go into how many schools? That was probably 13 pods. That was probably what, five or six schools. So all we did was have stage things in the gym. What we did this summer, we'd come in and make a determination if it was junk we could throw out. And we would actually, if it was metal, we would break it apart. We'd sell the scrap. So we're trying to get something out of every piece of used equipment that we have, but we still got 12 or 13 pods that we've got to go through. We're just trying to wait till the heat's gone a little bit before we get out there and start moving things around. So we don't even know what we have in all of those yet. But there'll be a lot of furniture and things like that we'll be selling.
The reason we showed you this, Mr. White, is because the schools used to try to accomplish a lot of this by themselves, and it's just difficult with their limited staff to be able to do this. So we kind of pulled together both district and the school staff, and with some of our partners in the community, recyclers and people like that, to try to make those as few muscle moves as possible. So.
And anything that we can recycle, that we can get a little bit of money out of, old TVs, computers, all those, but that's what we're doing with it.
Mr. Cates.
I just want to make sure we're clear. The board policy is one of the simplest policies we have. It's just a couple of lines. It's the complying with the state procurement policy. So it's not the complication of this board's policy. It's complying with the state procurement code.
Correct.
Mr. Carlin, you mentioned this just a minute ago. Usually each year we're dealing with about a $10 million capital project.
Yes, sir.
And we know that a big chunk of that, probably about $3 million, is our computer
Technology.
Technology. The HVAC seems to dominate a lot of that too. You mentioned W.O. Blackstone a little while ago. In this design build method, do you all, or does the district identify the projects that the construction company, we want them to manage? Because you also had some projects that your staff has done a great job on. So tell me a little bit about how that works. It seems that we probably got maybe a $5 million annual design build. I think
Yes,
that's
sir.
what you call it.
Anywhere
Is that
between
about
5
what-
and 6 normally.
Okay.
So, again, traditional method, you get my staff together, we'd pull in a designer, architect, engineers, meet with the staff of the school, design everything, and then put it out on the street for the contractors to bid on. Well, the beauty of the design build method is that you have that contractor with you all the time that does this day in and day out, the actual construction. So in a lot of cases, yes, we're talented with what we can do with my staff. The architects and engineers are talented with what they can do, but none of us do the actual construction in the field. So having the experience from a very successful, well-recognized, qualified contractor to be working on these projects with us before we ever move to the phase of bidding it out. And they're of course, bidding this out to subs. So we're doing the bidding process anyway. We just have the benefit of a general contractor with us all the time. And so not only do we have the benefit on individual projects, but they're helping us look at our entire 5-year plan and identifying things like, well, you know, Scott, you've got this broken out into 3 phases, but I really think that if we work with the right subcontractor, we might could accomplish this in 2 phases and get it, you know, get a lot more done and get it done for a little bit cheaper because we're dealing with greater volume. So they come up with those type things that we're already seeing the benefit of it right now.
Right. Well, and I knew there was a move to get some help. We really needed help. This is probably more than you can manage to contact an architect and engineer, people that help you get to a certain point to bid. So seems like, I mean, I know we're in the early stages of it. Seems like it's a good move to help us be more efficient with what we do.
We're excited about it.
Mr. Gant, the major difference between what we're used to with the construction manager at risk and this is that rather than hiring the design firm separate from the contractor, everything goes through the contractors. It's very similar to what we're doing with the construction at Chapin Middle.
Right. And it really frees up some time. Doesn't free up, you didn't have the time to do it all anyway, probably, but it gives, you got somebody that specializes in it to handle the project.
And we'll get a guaranteed maximum price as we do with the construction on the schools too. So we're going to have a better idea what our costs are going to be going forward as well.
That's great. That's good. Well, it's impressive what all got done, and some of the projects like this Harbison West roadway, it's amazing the impact some of that plays on people's lives, and it really does.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions on capital projects? Ms. Hutchinson, you left the room for just a minute, but we used the word recycling, selling metal that this district used to throw away. And I want
Music to my ear.
I knew it would be, and I wanted to say it again to let you know that I heard hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe not in recycling, but we're not throwing away things. We either recycle it and sell it and bring money back in the district. So I wanted you to hear that. It's good
Thank you very
stuff.
much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. Thank you, Mr. Richardson.
Thank you.
Next, our Chief of Planning and Administration, Dr. Harris, will present our 10-day enrollment report update for you.
Hi, Mr. Gant, members of the board, Dr. Melton, community. I'm happy to report and give you an update on our 10-day enrollment for this 2018-2019 school year. And I think the way that I will approach this will be, in an effort to be very terse and to the point, is a threefold focal point, and that is to offer you a review of pertinent terms and definitions as it relates to enrollment, as well as a review of our status, our current day status regarding our enrollment freeze, and then also to talk with you in reference to the actual 10-day final day count. Let's begin with just a couple of things to identify in terms of definitions, and I want to begin with the average daily membership, oftentimes referred to as ADM. And this is, according to our State Department, is a count of students taken at different times of the year to satisfy local, state, and federal data collection needs, and to ensure that all school districts are adequately and appropriately funded according to that same student population. Now, what I have here is at the bottom, I have some milestone dates, school dates there. And what those milestones are the 45th, 90th, and 135th, and 180th school days. Those are dates that we refer to quite frequently throughout the course of the year. Several of them are underscored, such as the 45th, the 135th, and the 180th school days. Those are really dates that are special emphasis and attention are paid from our finance department as it relates to funding purposes, making absolutely certain that our school districts are receiving the funding appropriate and necessary to govern our schools. I did not underscore the 90th because primarily that's used in the HR from a staffing purposes and for enrollment projections for the upcoming year. So I want to give emphasis to that. It is important that we take a moment to pause and say something about the ADM, average daily membership, because oftentimes it gets confused, mixed in, if you will, with enrollment. It is not enrollment. We have two separate things here. Both are fruit, but they are distinctly different. One is an apple, one is an orange, if I can put it that way. This is, let's say for all intents and purposes, this is the apple of our conversation, average daily membership. However, what we do want to give emphasis to is enrollment, which is oftentimes referred to as an active student head count. And that, simply put, is a snapshot count of actively enrolled students that satisfy state and federal data reporting requirements that may also include distributions by school grade, gender, and ethnicity. Once again, I've identified some milestone dates there of the 10th, 45th, 90th, 135th, and 180th school days. And I purposefully placed an asterisk beside the 10th day, purposes of tonight, but also for purposes of, that's where we're really paying close attention regarding our staffing, working very closely in partnership and collaboration with our human resources department and as well as instruction, making certain that we are continuously in line with our board policy as it relates to student and teacher ratio. However, I did underscore the 45th, 90th, 135th, and 180th school days. And the purpose of that is to identify those dates, those milestone dates, as dates that are reported, we're calculated and reported to our State Department of Education, and they are also posted on our District 5 website. On last year, when I was given opportunity to bring the accounting department under our umbrella of planning and administration, that's one of the things that we began in an effort to make certain that we are even more accurate in terms of our accounting. So we began to place that on our district website, and we'll follow suit this year as well of reporting the 45th, 90th, 135th, and 180th day. Again, that is oftentimes, most often, there's a clear distinction between enrollment as well as that of ADM. Next, I'd like to just simply share with you, part two of this is our enrollment freeze. Several questions that have come about in reference to our enrollment freeze. This, by way of reminder, is a program or initiative that we implemented on last year. We implemented it on January 22nd, effective January 22nd, which was the start of our second half of the school year, our second semester. And we certainly appreciate our board paying close, giving us the go-ahead to move forward with that. Since January 22nd, we've had 115 students who have been reassigned to two different schools, two schools in which we had in our plan, which were Ballantyne Elementary School and Chapin Elementary School. And as you see there in our graph, if you will, our chart, in terms of the two schools, how we have listed them from kindergarten through the highest grade level. At the Ballantyne Elementary School, from kindergarten, we've not had any students currently enrolled who were impacted by an enrollment freeze. However, at the first grade, we have 3 students, second grade, 6 students, third grade, 5 students, fourth grade, 1 student, and currently no students at Ballantyne Elementary School in the 5th grade, for a total of 21 students who have been reassigned from Lake Murray Elementary School, who live in that attendance area, who moved in at some point following the January 22nd, who have been reassigned to Ballantyne Elementary School. Contrarily, over at the Chapin Elementary School, we look at the top of that kindergarten, and we have currently 22 students, first grade 12 students, second grade 19 students, third grade 20 students, and fourth grade, its highest level, at 21 students, for a total of 94 students who have been reassigned as a result to Chapin Elementary School. Again, a total of 115 students who have been reassigned. Now, let me also say here that those reassignments really are based on, in terms of how students have determined or families have determined either Ballantyne or Chapin. It really has a lot to do with proximity from home to school. So that really kind of drove a lot of the decisions as to where students actually landed, if you will, between the two schools.
Dr. Harris, excuse me.
Yes.
Did you say these are students that came in after the date that was established last year? Is that right?
That is correct. January 22nd, it was an established, identified, purposefully identified date, the start of the second semester of the 17-18 year. These 115 students came into the Lake Murray attendance area after that January 22nd time frame.
Right.
That is correct.
Mr. Harris, tell me, this is just minor, but unless I'm adding it wrong, I get 15 on the Ballantyne and the 94 on the Chapin instead of 21. Not that it's a big deal, but am I adding wrong?
Yeah.
It comes up 15. But I didn't know, maybe there's somewhere I'm not seeing. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15.
You all right? And here's why. Kindergarten should be a 6 and not a 0.
Okay, that would
There it
change
is. Kindergarten, thank you for that. Kindergarten should be a 6 and not a 0.
Thank you. I was sitting here thinking maybe math was my worst subject or something, and I.
Well,
and-
apparently it's mine too, I guess, but it should be a 6 and not a 0.
Oh, Mr. Harris, when you were talking, because it is so many more going to the Chapin School, elementary, and I remember asking you when we were doing this, how you decide, and you said it'd kind of be a case-by-case basis, and then you just told us mainly you looked at proximity. So that many more are just in a corridor near a Chapin Elementary. Well, did it mean Chapin had more room? Because I thought Valentine, overall, at least by last year, they had lost more enrollment than probably Chapin Elementary. Maybe I'm wrong.
The two parts to the question, that's kind of how things fell in terms of proximity from home to school. There are a greater number of students or families, if you will, who live in that area closer to Chapin Elementary School. That is correct. In terms of space and space availability, in terms of Chapin Elementary School is the larger of the two.
Right.
It is the larger of the two, so it certainly could house more students as opposed to Valentine Elementary School.
So, okay, I think I did send you an email, and thank you, because you said you would have that for us tomorrow, but I'd ask, it would be really helpful to see the enrollment, or the 10-day enrollment by school, because I think that's how we had it last year. That way we could see, because we definitely have growth in some of the schools, and some of our schools have a decrease. So it would help us in figuring out where the growth is and how best to move kids. So,
Absolutely.
thank you. You said you would get that for us.
I did
And
indicate that, and certainly we'll make that available to all the board members, an account per school and by grade level.
Right, that's
Certainly
what
upon, as soon as we can get to that, based on our current conditions regarding weather-related, we'll certainly get that as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Next, I'll share with you in terms of actual numbers, and third part of this presentation, actual numbers, is our state EFA funded enrollment. Currently is on our 10th day, which was on Wednesday, September 5th. It's currently listed at 16,887 students. Again, keeping in mind that our EFA funded students, these are students who are enrolled in Power School on our 10th day of enrollment, or 10th day of school rather. And EFA, again, are only those students who are grades K through 12 that are accounted here. This does not include K-12 non-funded EFA students, and I put here the last indicator here. We have used for over several years our demographer, Dr. McKibben, who gives us an account or projection, if you will, and his projection for the 18-19 school year is at 16,826, which gives us about a difference of about 61 students. So in the grand scheme of things, considering the number, probably not too far off in the grand scheme of things. But currently, our EFA grades 12, K through 12, 16,887 students. I want to distinguish that from enrollment again. Our total enrollment as of the 10th day is 17,405 students. And I want to say here that 17,405 students, I can share with you affirmatively that I can put a name and a face to every one of those 17,405 students. These are students who were enlisted in Power School on the 10th day of school, and they do include all grades and students pre-K through 12, regardless of the funding source. Now, this does include our Excel students who are at Irmo Elementary School and River Springs Elementary School, 2 classes at one and 1 class at the other, as well as our at-risk program students, led by Ms. Davida Price, who I think is in the audience as well, and our 3-year-olds who are in our special needs, special services programs. However, it does not include students who are enrolled in our current adult education program. It does not include those students. I think lastly what I'd like to do is just offer and leave with 2 points of emphasis, and then followed by trying to respond to any questions you might have. And the first point of emphasis is our K-12 state-funded 10th day enrollment. Again, here we're going to compare apples to apples as it relates to 10-day enrollment. K-12 10th day enrollment is up by 158 students from last school year, 2017-2018. And then point 2 of that, we've had an increase of 177 students PK through 12 total enrollment compared to last year on the 10th day of 2017-2018. So we are excited about our accounting of what we have in terms of the number of students, both K-12 as well as pre-K through 12. The information's there, and I certainly try to respond to any question that you might have.
Mr. Cates.
Dr. Harris, thank you for the total enrollment number and the notes you make. Is there, what's the rationale for not including the adult education programs? It's certainly space that we have to account for, staff we have to account for, expense we have to account for, yet we don't really capture that number to look at our total cost per student.
I think that in simplest terms, it really throws in another fruit, to be quite honest with you, Mr. Cates. It is a distinctly different program, different funding sources. They are worlds apart in terms of adult ed versus our general K-12 population. So for that purpose, we don't count them, the state does not include them in our count for enrollment.
This is probably not the place to do that then, but it'd be nice when we are looking at budget and that kind of thing to know exactly how many people we're serving so well through that program. And having attended graduation for those programs the last 2 years, we need to celebrate the success of that department and appreciate those folks that are willing to stick with their goal to receive their education. So I'd like to see us somewhere account for that total number. I understand this may not be the place, but
Certainly can do. Another part of our part of the planning and administration function, and that's very easy to do, to get that count and make that available to all of you board to kind of get an idea as to where we were, where we landed. In this case, 17-18, conclusion of 17-18 school year, and certainly keeping a tally of that throughout the 18-19 year. Not a problem.
Ms. Hammond.
I was going to ask, when Mr. McKibben or Dr. McKibben gave us his projection, he was pretty close here. Was this the original one he did for us years ago, or have we, I think we've had him back, it's an updated projection?
It is updated. I had a chance to meet with him several times, and this is the most recent, the number that I shared with you is the most recent number as of February 18, when I last met with him.
Because I remember he did our first one, and I remember
That's correct.
he bragged to us he was pretty accurate. So I think he is.
So that's recent February 18, that's correct.
Any other questions?
Dr. Harris, thank you for your
Thank you.
calibration of definitions and your presentation.
Absolutely.
Mr. Gant, board members, we'll move now to agenda item C under the superintendent's report, entitled Professional Development School District. First, no, based upon our research, this is the first of its kind in the nation. Do I hear some shock and amaze in the room? So yes, we are a little bit proud of this. For this to be possible, obviously it takes partners and it takes commitment from higher education, so we are fortunate to have with us here this evening Dr. Tommy Hodges, who is the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at the University of South Carolina. Dr. Hodges, thank you. Dr. Shelley Curcio is going to be leading our presentation momentarily, who is a Clinical Associate Professor of Elementary Education. Dr. Kate Aceta, who is also already a fan and has friends in School District 5. She is our Assistant Professor of Special Education at the university. Also in the room is Ms. Beth White. Ms. White is our Program Coordinator and Clinical Faculty at the College of Education, who's joining us this evening. Both Dr. Cindy Van Buren and Dean Peterson send their regrets that they are heavily involved with this project. Joining this faculty and joining me on a committee, we've developed a steering committee here in School District 5. So partnering with us and the University of South Carolina are Dr. Slatton, I see her at the back of the room. Ms. Brown, I see her here on the second row. Ms. Price, I see you on the second row. Dr. Hardy, I believe, is still on the third row. Thank you, Dr. Hardy. Ms. McCaskill, I don't know that she's here this evening, but Tina McCaskill is involved, as well as Director Holden, who I believe is in class tonight, and then, of course, Mr. Giuliano is Chief Instructional Officer. So we're going to welcome Dr. Curcio to the podium this evening, and she'll be leading our presentation to help you become acquainted with this, one more time, based upon our research, first in the nation report of professional development school district. Dr. Curcio.
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much, Dr. Mountain, Mr. Gant, and Board of Trustees. It is an honor to be here today and a proud honor to share with you about our professional development school district. I come to share with you a partnership between the University of South Carolina and Lexington Richland School District 5. And as Dr. Mountain said, we are a partnership that is a first of its kind. So that is very exciting where we are headed. Professional development school partnerships are entrenched in research, and professional development school partnerships have been shown to prepare future educators, provide current educators with ongoing professional development, encourage joint school-university investigations of educational related items, and most importantly, to promote the learning of pre-K through 12 students. Additionally, research indicates that professional development school partnerships, otherwise known as a PDS, you'll see that acronym up there, these partnerships offer the strongest bridge, perhaps, from the education to classroom outcomes, from academics to clinical education, and truly that theory to practice piece for our new educators that are rising up into our future classrooms. So here at the University of South Carolina and in Columbia, we have a very rich history with the Professional Development School Network. We have presently 21 schools that work within the University of South Carolina's PDS network, and 4 of these schools are right here in District 5. We have Irmo Elementary School, Oak Point Elementary School, Irmo Middle School, and right here at Dutch Fork High School. And I know some of those individuals are here today representing these schools. These are prime examples of the rich partnerships that can occur within a PDS system. There's reciprocal learning that occurs for all stakeholders, from our teacher candidates, to our classroom teachers, to our administrators, to university faculty, to most importantly, the pre-K through 12 students that we are serving. So, knowing this rich history, knowing the establishment of the partnerships that already existed here in District 5, there was a wondering from our leader, Dr. Melton, wondering what if we were to create an innovative partnership that systematically aligned us across the university and the entirety of the district, not just the four schools that I showed before, but the whole district. And what if we created an innovative partnership that helped to enhance the educational opportunities for all students in District 5? So, with this wondering came a lot of conversations, came a lot of meetings about what might we do. And through that, we have come up with this innovative partnership of a professional development school district in which we are going to serve all of District 5. So what does that mean and what does that look like? As we've been identifying this, we've developed a vision. This vision is as follows. In collaboration as PDS district partners, Lexington Richland School District 5 and the University of South Carolina will enact principles of improvement science to enhance the social, emotional, and physical well-being for students and staff to ultimately yield academic gains and to provide practitioners continued opportunities for professional learning. So I want to tease a few words out in there because that's a lot, right, in that vision statement. So I'm going to tease a few words out. First are the institutions that are partnering. We have Lexington Richland School District 5 and the University of South Carolina. You will notice those of us here today represent the College of Education, but we have made this broad as University of South Carolina because this vision that we've created extends beyond the walls of the College of Education. This vision extends to psychology, School of Social Work, Arnold School of Public Health, perhaps even the Nursing College. The vision is there to reach out to the needs of the community. Also, you'll note, enacting those principles of improvement science. We put that in there because we want to ensure that data is informing the decisions that we make, and we are going to use the data that we have here and the data we gather over time to make those informed decisions and act upon our plans. Next, I'm going to pull out enhancing the social, emotional, and physical well-being for students and staff. Research indicates that if we don't tend to the well-being of our students, our faculty, our staff, our communities, then ultimately it's more difficult to yield those academic gains. So how can we channel all of our resources to enhance the social, emotional, and physical well-being to ultimately yield those academic gains? And the final piece I'd like to tease out in this vision is that word of practitioners. Within a PDS partnership, there's truly reciprocal learning for all practitioners involved. That is all of us that are involved in this partnership, from classroom teachers at the schools in District 5, to administrators, to district personnel, to university faculty and staff, and to our teacher candidates who will become rising teachers here in our schools in District 5. It's opportunities for all of us to engage in professional learning that ultimately the goal is to enhance learning for our students, the students here in District 5. So that's where our vision comes from. As Dr. Melton indicated, we've gathered together some individuals here to help us begin this work. And their expertise and knowledge is invaluable. They understand the context of our district and understand the needs within. So, as she shared, under the leadership of Dr. Melton, we have Mr. Giuliano, Kelly Brown, Robin Hardy, Van Holden, Ms. Tina McCaskill, Davita Price, and Angie Slatton. Dr. Kata Setta is joining us from the College of Education on this as well, and Dr. Cindy Van Buren, who's unable to be here tonight, she is joining us as well, and myself, I am Shelley Curcio. I am joining the Coordinating Council as well. And as we identify needs and as we identify actions, one thing that we're going to be doing is reaching out to other aspects of the university and bringing in knowledge and expertise. I look at myself as a conduit in order to reach out and have those connections to psychology, social work, perhaps even the School of Construction, as I was sitting here listening to the other report. You just never know what connections there are. And if we can enhance this communication, we can do so much. So this is very exciting. I keep telling everyone we truly are pioneers within the work that we are doing, and I'm honored to be a part of this work. I'm really looking forward to the work of the Coordinating Council as we get going and implementing some of our action steps. And over time, we know that through this partnership, as we say here in District 5, because I'm saying we, as we say here in District 5, we know our impact, and that connects so well to, as it says at University of Florida, and our impact. I mean, University of South Carolina, goodness, where did that come from? I'm Garnet. University of...
It just went off the rail.
Holy buckets. And as we say...
This is tape.
No, our impact has absolutely no limit. So working together, we truly will impact everyone, all stakeholders, enhance those educational opportunities here in District 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Curcio. I think that certainly warrants a round of applause. I'm sure we've intrigued you. You may have some questions that we would, of course, open for you all to offer to us, but understand we are still in the design and draft phase. So you may have questions that we just can't answer at this point, but if nothing else, I hope that you see that we have a reciprocal partner at the university who are willing to be visionaries, who are willing to help us draft and design, because we are being responsive and taking very responsibly the FTEs that this board has given to us to use. And I'll use behavior interventionists as an example. We are making sure that we wrap around quality services to train our behavior specialists, to reach into our schools to make sure that we're intervening for the social, emotional, and the physical health of our students, because we know it starts there so that students can be prepared to learn. So supporting teachers directly in the classroom through professional development, through that in-class, we are committed to make sure that this is going to do something for our student success, but also for the retention of our faculty and staff, because our teachers will see they have direct access to quality professionals who are specialists in their fields of study. Mr. Gant.
Yes, ma'am. Questions, Ms. Hudson, and then who else? Ms. Hudson.
I just wanted to applaud both parties. I think this is brilliant. Dr. Melton, thank you for initiating this, and thanks to the University of South Carolina and the Education Department. It makes such perfect sense for the Education Department and the University, the other departments you mentioned, and School District 5 to pull together all of the brain power that you have and to share information that will help the teacher candidates and also our own students. And faculty. So you're right, it is spectacular. And the fact that it's the first in the nation, as a Gamecock myself, notice the colors, I'm truly proud of both USC and of District 5. So thank you very much.
Ms. Hammond.
I can tell you as a classroom teacher today, it's a great thing, anything we do that bolsters up the teaching profession. So that part's awesome. I have a question, and I know Dr. Melton said it's ongoing. I was thinking this core group of people, they will actually be the people that go out on a professional development day. And I was just trying to envision how this would work,
sure.
and you'd share their knowledge and at the different schools, and they'd be the leaders, kind of.
Let us partner with that response. We are developing with that coordinating council that we introduced, both of us introduced. Thus far, we've obviously drafted a vision, which you've seen tonight. We've also worked on 2 goals that we're working towards. One is going to be, Ms. Price is here because it has a heavy focus on preschool. So she and Dr. Assetta are going to make sure that they partner and are already working with our preschool teachers, because we know that preschool is our first intervention opportunity when students enter a formal school setting. So all preschool will have an opportunity to be engaged. Doesn't matter what school, all preschool. So we celebrate that because we know their inception in School District 5, we've got to close the gap because our preschoolers are here because there is a gap. So we're going to intervene there first. Our second goal that we've drafted that we're bringing forward to our principals when weather permits, we're going to have a conversation with them that goal 2 is going to be about the social and the behavioral support that are needed, and we're going to start with those behavior interventionists that this board approved in our fiscal budget for this fiscal year. So we're going to start to make sure that we support them and expectation coaches, so positions that this board has supported with our fiscal commitment for our schools, wherever those positions are located, we start there. We will also bring in the additional positions that this board has approved. Last year, we added 1 position of Lucy Bailey's position under Dr. Slatton's supervision. And then this year, we've added 3 additional behavior intervention specialists. So they too will come into the fold. So those that have specialty will be directly involved with this training, and then we find the right partners and we create the right opportunities, and then the learning and the excitement begins, and the students get to reap the rewards, as will the teachers. And of course, I can't fail to include, this also reaches into the family. We've got to make sure that we're connecting families with the appropriate resources. So Ms. Brown and Ms. Price will be heavily involved from School District 5 to make sure that extension occurs. And of course, Dr. Slatton with her responsibilities in special services. So when we sit down with parents, it's not just us talking to them, it's us connecting with them and connecting them with the appropriate community services. Dr. Curcio, did I forget anything that you would like to add?
I do not. I just think to reiterate the fact that, as we mentioned, the goal is to extend outside the walls and to ensure that we're finding the individuals with the right information and the right expertise to help us meet the needs that we identify within the schools.
Mr. Cates.
Yeah, I think when you have a flagship university and a flagship district, I'm just, I'm looking forward to seeing the product that will come of this. I'm proud that we're on the cutting edge, and we hear so often in South Carolina how far behind we are, but this truly addresses the needs of our faculty, our staff, but our students and their families. Do you envision this? I'm thinking I have a senior that's in teacher cadets this year, and one of the things I've noticed is he is, still formulating what he wants to do. Is we hear so much in the press about negative about the profession, and he hears that. This kind of excitement to be able to bring that in to the classroom with those teacher cadets and involve them. Again, it may be so early in the partnership that's beyond the initial vision, but I could see the day where that group was a part of this partnership as well.
If I may answer that, we have another project underway with the Office of SARA, which is a Center of Education, Recruitment, and Retention in Rock Hill. So you're giving me an opportunity to preview what's coming as soon as we can share that. We have held this report for quite some time to make sure that we have the coordinating council in action and that we have their support of the vision and their support of the drafted goals. So we're bringing it here to you all tonight. And I would like to add for the community's information, Dr. Curcio, share with everyone what the price tag will be for School District 5 to go into this agreement with the University of South Carolina.
There is no price tag. There is no exchange of money for us to engage in this partnership in the way that we've developed it. There is There is not an exchange of money, just knowledge and resources and passion.
And I need a clarification. Again, this is first in the nation?
The first in the nation of its kind.
Of its
Yes,
kind, yes, sir. There are other professional development school districts in the nation, but they're organized in a different manner. It would be like if we were to say every single school within District 5 were a professional development school site. That is not what we're saying. We are looking at this very much as a systematic way of enhancing the educational opportunities for all stakeholders within the district.
Right, and it sounds like the students are the winners, students' families,
Absolutely.
everybody wins. I'd like to applaud that again. It's a wonderful program. Any other questions?
Mr. Gann, if I may, the university faculty has certainly had a long day, just as our staff has had. So for our coordinating council to be here inclusive of the university, who also is experiencing some weather changes, they have many other things that they could be doing, but this is just evidence of their commitment. So on behalf of School District 5, thank you to the three of you for extending your day to be here to show your visible presence. Dr. Hodges probably said it best. We are planting the flag. And we look forward to planting this flag and then showing others what can be done when you have an innovative partner that's focused on the needs of our students. So we appreciate their partnership because it's truly collaborative.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Mr. Gant, that completes the superintendent's report.
Wow.
That may be
That was a wow superintendent's report.
That may be a record.
It's wonderful.
Did you have anything else new?
That brings us to item number 12, which is public participation.